Hey folks, just getting the game fired up. Be with you in a couple of minutes. Evening folks, Settle and Carlisle tonight to start off with. We're going to be running the Duchess, so I had some feedback on YouTube after the video with the N15 Samuel, basically saying that they were having some problems with the Duchess, and so I thought, well, let's drive some Duchess, because I think it was this was a scenario I ran before, and she's tricky to fire and keep going, but she definitely keeps going. It's a lovely loco to drive, great sounds, and this is a particularly challenging scenario where we've got to go up the hill. Driver, looks as though you have a trigger shift ahead of you. The weather conditions are becoming worse and you're already late for your timetable. To make things worse, you've got a tough uphill battle to contend with. So we've got to do passenger load first. So we'll get that going. Who have we got on the channel? We've got Ricky, good to see you again. Jack, Lunago, Dark, hey, Mama of 2, ECML. Welcome all. So tonight it's we're starting off with the Settle and Carlisle with the Duchess, and then I think for one of the sessions tonight we're going to finish off Fly Ash to Blacksville part 2. The scenario we started last night, and then I think we'll see where the mood takes us and where the time takes us. This one's only a short one, so we should have time for 3. Hey Matty, welcome back to the channel. Those brakes released. Got the cylinder cocks open. Now this one's an air brake train, not a vacuum brake train, so it's a slightly different beast to run. Come on, get moving. Challenge here, of course, is that we're on a hill start with a heavy train. It is a heavy train. We'll take a look behind us here. You'll see it sort of goes on for quite a while, but we're going. A little bit of wheel slippers are pulling out, that's fine as long as you keep it under control. Close the cylinder cocks. Now the trick with wheel slip when you're doing this kind of thing is to watch the throttle percentage, and also if you go inside the cab you can actually see the steam chest pressure, which is this one, if I remember rightly. So what happens is as we open the regulator, so the steam chest pressure is going to go up, and you see it's now going up. That's because we're letting more steam in. Now as we speed up, so we'll consume more from the steam chest as well. So what you'll find is if you put it up too high, then you let too much steam in and it actually builds up to the point that it sort of escalates. So now we know roughly where. There you go. So you can watch this steam chest pressure to gauge how much pressure you're putting actually on the wheels. and then just try and use that as a guide to keep everything efficient. There we go. So we're accelerating. Boiler pressure's coming down at a heck of a rate. So let's open the blower and make sure the dampers are open. So I'm just bringing the cut-off way back now, trying to rescue the boiler pressure. So we're using quite a lot of steam, and the boiler pressure is going down quite quickly. However, bringing the cut-off back has helped somewhat. So let's keep the here we go. We'll just pop the cut-off back down just far enough, and all of a sudden we're gaining steam pressure again. Now we're losing speed very slowly, but that's fine, because we can gain some boiler pressure back, which is all important. All we want to do is make sure we don't then waste that boiler pressure by going over the safeties. So I think once we get to about 235, I'll put the cut-off back forward again, and we'll use that then to gain a bit more speed. Cut off back forward, we're now accelerating again, and the boiler pressure is coming down, but that's fine. And what we can do then is we can just balance the cut off. When the boiler pressure is a bit low, we can then bring the cut off back. Once the boiler pressure is restored, we can then put the cut off forward, and we should be able to get the train moving nice and fast. Ricky, yes, this is the element Duchess in preserved condition, as it is on the main line, Duchess of Sutherland. And yes, you do see all the modern gubbins, such as TPWS, AWS, and all of that modern stuff, which is all cool, and obviously essential for a modern operation. Hi Ismail, yes, we did work with the A1 Trust through another company called Contact Sales, and yes, all of the Tornado models we do are fully licensed. So boiler pressure's coming down again, but we're doing okay. We're up to 21 miles an hour, so I'm going to put a little bit more throttle on, and in a minute I'll put the cut-off back to a lower setting and see if we can get that boiler pressure back again. Uh, 158 coming in the other direction. There we go, boiler pressure is now coming back up. We've just popped the cut-off below. Now we're losing speed slightly faster because we're on a bit of a steeper gradient, but that's fine. The boiler pressure comes up nice and quickly. So once we're back up to 235, I'll push the cut-off forward again, and we'll go for another push up the hill. So the thing to remember is that as we speed up over the course of the journey overall, so the balance point and the accelerate point effectively that we're using are going to be changing. It's something to bear in mind. You can't just go between the same two settings each time. You need to adjust your settings slightly. You'll still be able to accelerate at the lower settings as you accelerate as well. basically this scenario goes up the hill. So the Settle and Carlisle, if you imagine that essentially it's a triangle that looks like this, then we're coming up, we're on the eastern side at Settle, and we're heading west, and there's like a flat bit at the top, and Dent is somewhere along that flat bit. So we're basically working our way up the steepest side of the route, heading west towards Carlisle, but we're only going as far as Dent. So basically everything after Dent is a high-speed run downhill, which is slightly less interesting. Will I do a 158 on a stream? Absolutely. Absolutely nothing wrong with doing a 158. I like that idea actually. So maybe we'll be back to the Settle and Carlisle for another stream to do that then. So we're up to 24 miles per hour, boiler pressure's just hitting 200, so I'm going to cut back and regain again. So boiler pressure's coming back up, and speed is slowly coming down. Someone asked if I'd ridden on this line. Ethan asked if I'd ridden on this line in real life. No, unfortunately I haven't. I had the opportunity a little while ago, but unfortunately I had other commitments, so I wasn't able to do it. But everyone that went was very glad to tell me how gorgeous it was and how wonderful, and made me feel all the worse. Where is this in the world? It's in the UK, sort of about halfway up. If you find Carlisle, and just head east. So we're really struggling here to get the thing to keep going, but I think if we keep the boiler pressure building, and we'll hopefully try and gain some speed here now. So if you look, we've got about 200 psi in the steam chest pressure here, so that's actually a good indicator that we need to keep the boiler pressure above about 200 psi, otherwise we're not going to have enough pressure to put into the steam chest to maintain what we're doing. Punishing grade all the way up to Dent. So our next platform stop is actually Horton and Ribblesdale, which is in just under 3 miles, and our ETA is actually about a minute ahead of schedule at the moment, although it is creeping very rapidly, not in our favour, so we may end up a bit late by the time we get there. Yeah, when the guys at work all went on the tour, it was, I can't remember what the name of the tour was, but it was an electric up to Carlisle, one of the AC Loco Group's electrics, and then it was the LMS Jubilee across the Settle and Carlisle line, which I understand was quite spectacular. When am I going to do a 158? Oh, I don't know. Well, let's see how the timing goes. Maybe I don't want to do another Settle and Carlisle tonight. Try to keep the variety. Maybe we'll do a Settle and Carlisle again tomorrow on the 158. I think that sounds like a good idea. Hi Rick, sorry, no, not a bean at the moment. I'm afraid I haven't had a chance to look into it, but I will get that sorted for this week. So I'm letting the boiler pressure come down just a little bit further this time, and Oh, it looks like we're already losing speed, so time to let the boiler pressure come up. I definitely think I'm running this a bit too slow. Definitely think this is running a bit too slow, but I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong otherwise. Let's get some more coal going in. Okay, now the other challenge we've got here is making sure we put water in and we don't make a mess of it like we did the other night on the, actually on the Settle and Carlisle, funnily enough. So we need to find a strategic time to put water in. Now if we look here, we're already on a 1 in 200, which means life's about to get easier. And we're accelerating. And now would be a good time to get water in, because as we put water in, what actually happens is we have a damaging effect on the boiler pressure. So we want to put water in when we don't, at the time where we don't need that boiler pressure desperately. Hi John, good to see you on the channel. Greetings, Alex. So you finished now, John, or are you just on a break? So we're on a bit of a level stretch now, so we can get some speed up, and also we can allow the boiler pressure to come back in a minute. Right, just come back onto the grade. Get that boiler pressure back up. And maybe look at taking the water off again. But good news is we managed to get some speed up on that flat bit. So hopefully we won't be too ridiculously late into Horton in Ribblesdale. Hey Simel, thanks for subscribing on YouTube. That's great. Right, so I slam the cut-off forward again a bit to see if we can't maintain some of this speed, but it is obviously going to cost us boiler pressure. I've got the water back up to about 50%, so I think I'm going to cut the water off there, and so that isn't damaging our boiler pressure too much. Just need to keep an eye on it. I suspect we can throw a load of water in Horton in Ribblesdale. Duchess, what engine am I driving? I am driving Duchess of Sutherland. Absolutely beautiful locomotive. Excellent sounds. Nice physics. It's a real challenge to drive, which is exactly the way I like it. So we're looking like we're going to be pretty late coming into Horton and Ribblesdale, but that's fine. It's been a while since I've driven this loco, and this is a tough scenario. Hey John, yeah, there's always a pile of work. A holiday's never a holiday, is it? Now, since we're going to get a bit of a layover in Horton and Ribblesdale, I'm going to spend a bit more boiler pressure just to get us in there a little bit faster, and then we can work to get that boiler pressure recovered, get water into the tank before we carry on with the journey. Good news is you don't really need to use too much brake. Since I take the throttle off, she'll stop pretty well on her own. So we're coming in about 90 seconds late so far. I'm not expecting to be awarded a tremendous score at this stop, but tel aviv. Let's get the water injection going. The boiler pressure's coming back up. Oops, slightly overshot, but never mind. So we're pressing the wrong button again. The button I used to turn the microphone on is right next to the button which reloads all of the assets. So I need to change that. So yeah, we're about 2 minutes 20 seconds late into Horden and Ribblesdale, and no doubt it'll be fun making it to the next stop as well. Never mind, we've got boiler pressure going up. Good now. There you go. The safety's just went off just in time. Excellent. Appreciate that. And we gained some score, so I'm going to consider that a win. Throttles off. Cylinder cock's already open. Let's keep an eye on the cylinder pressure as we get moving. Just need to really watch the regulator and get ourselves moving, but try and avoid having the boiler, the steam chest pressure get up so high that it causes a problem. Oh, Alex is back on form today. Straight in with the cynicism. Oh dear. Hey, welcome Dean and Muffin Man. Welcome back to the channel. We're running the Settle and Carlisle line from Settle up the steep side to the Dent, so this is a tough old journey. So I'm going to knock. Right, so let's get some more regulator on and cut the reverser down a bit. There we go, let's cut the cylinder cocks off. I think we've done enough of that. Of course, cutting the cylinder cocks has meant that we're now using more. Sorry, we're not using as much steam as it was just venting out the front. So of course my regulator setting needed to be adjusted, and I didn't do that, so we will slipped. There we go. So 150 psi in the steam chest, 249, and turn down slowly, and the speed is coming up. So we are due into Ribblehead, 4.5 bit miles away, 1018, current ETA is 1017, but going up quite spectacularly. So as the train accelerates, if you want to keep your boiler pressure going, what you can do is just gently keep touching that cut-off and bringing it down, and you'll find that the balance point actually changes between where you're spending boiler pressure and using boiler pressure. So while the boiler pressure being red or green doesn't actually mean good or bad, what it does do is it gives you a very clear idea as to whether or not you're gaining or losing in the peripheral of your vision. Welcome, Trumbinks. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. Good to see you on the channel. Wow. So what subject are you going to be specialising in then, John? Gently easing the regulator up. Let's get some try and get some speed up. The boiler pressure is actually behaving itself at the moment. I think possibly because we've got the fire mass up. I need to find out what the ideal fire mass is, but she does seem to be behaving a bit better, so let's get it back up to 70% again. HST, that's a good question. I think an HST run up London Peterborough might be interesting. So I'll investigate what options we might have for that and see when we can fit one of those in. So we're kind of just about losing speed, and but we're maintaining boiler pressure. So I think what we might need to do is I'm just going to wait for the firebox to get up to 70%, then I'm going to close it off and then push the car forward again and see if we can't generate some more speed out of this thing. There she goes, accelerating nicely. As long as you don't mind losing all your boiler pressure, she'll accelerate up a hill with I think probably 12 coaches on, which is pretty heavy load, especially if they're fully loaded. Next monorail show, I honestly don't know. I actually have not got a clue what the next monorail show is. So we're slipping further and further behind on the timetable, but at this point I'm just enjoying the run. A little over 2 miles to our next station, which is Ribblehead. And of course, around about there, we're going to cross over the one of the most famous landmarks of this route, which is the Ribblehead Viaduct. So I'm just easing the cut-off back a bit, try and balance up our speed and boiler pressure. There's no point spending tons of boiler pressure and gaining 1 mile an hour in speed. The water's down to 21%, so we're going to need to start thinking about getting water in again. So we need to make a note of that. I think if we get down to 15%, we're just going to have to make do, I think, and get water in and worry about performance of the loco later. So down to 1.5 miles, and we're due in about 45 seconds, so I think we're going to fail that. You know, I'd love to hook you guys up with some beta gameplay. and I am making inquiries to see if I can make that kind of thing happen on the channel, but nothing planned at this moment in time, I'm afraid. Right, we've got to get water put into this thing, otherwise we're going to run into a major problem. Get the blower on this speed. The blower will actually make a bit of a difference, so that'll help bring the boiler pressure back up. Got Ribblehead on the HUD now, 0.75 miles away, but we're slowing down. However, boiler pressure is back up to a good level. That's the AWS bell, which is a good sign. So let's spend some of that boiler pressure and get ourselves into Ribblehead. So that was fixed AWS alarm based on the fact that we've got the reduction in speed, because we're actually in a 60 limit at the moment, believe it or not, even though we've been dreaming of getting to 30. Hey Taybridge, Johnny B and Ray Red, welcome to the channel. And Bad Gamer Mike. How old am I? I'm 40. Thank you for asking. Now you are supposed to say, but you don't look 40. You don't look a day over 30. Like that speed limit sign. Please. Hey Joint, I presume you mean the Ice TV? Coming into Ribblehead Station now, so cut the throttle off, get the boiler pressure up, get the water up, get the coal up, stop the train. There you go, it's all happening today. It's air brakes, so it's self-lapping, which make it a little bit easier to drive. Unfortunately, with 12 coaches on behind, it doesn't make it any easier to stop. Turn the blower off just so that we don't blow the safeties. As we're 3 minutes behind, I'm expecting a negative score at this point. Wow, that's a big negative score. Cut off full forward, brakes released. Cylinder cocks are open, so let's get moving. I think I'll try some sand this time. So for those that have just joined, we're running Settle and Carlisle in the Duchess, close to cylinder cocks, and We are trying to get the Duchess up the steep side of the Settle and Carlisle line from Settle to Dent, which is a challenge at the best of times. And while we're making it, we're not making it to time, but the point here is to show that it can be done. I've had some people telling me suggesting on YouTube that it's not possible, and it's more than possible. It's definitely possible. Of course, now we're going to hit 30 mile an hour and break the speed limit and lose score for that reason. Yes, Dark, my train is always too long for the station, but with these little stations, that's not actually entirely unusual. And what they would have is they'd tell the passengers at the beginning of the journey to make sure they were in the front 3 or 4 coaches if they planned to get off on one of the intermediate stops, and have all the express passengers that were running straight through sit on the back coaches. So down to 200 psi, which is not great. So let's bring the cut-off back, and now you can see that we've got the boiler pressure coming back up again. That's it, making a liar out of me. Speed's going to come down now because we're still going up a 1 in 100 gradient, but that's fine. Boiler pressure will come back, and then we can bring the speed back up again. Hey Notic, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining, and it's the Big Men. Thought saw you join earlier on. Good to see you. So the safeties on this loco seem to go off around 250 psi, so we can let it go up a little bit further, which gives us a bit more of a run. We've got Bleemore down reverse siding coming up in front of us. So now bring the cut off forwards, just build up a little bit more. And before the safeties go off, let's get the cut off. Put the sander on so that we can avoid the wheel slip penalty. Get the speed back up. I think what we'll do is we'll cut the regulator a bit, and then I can take the sand off. Because in reality, trains don't have an unlimited amount of sand, which of course is something that you forget quite easily in the game. You just sit there with a sander on the entire journey. Hey Delano, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining us. So we've got plenty of water in the boiler, which is good. We've got 5 miles to get to to Dent, which is where this scenario will terminate. Now we'll get to the top of the hill before we get to Dent, so we'll have a little bit of slightly faster running. So I'll put the sander on, open the regulator up, let's get some speed out of this. Another 158 coming in the other direction. Being very bad, I'm just sitting on the sander, but we're getting the speed up. The boiler pressure is actually holding up. We're still at about 214, but it is coming down. Water level's still doing all right. Go into this tunnel, and it looks like we just about reached the top, so everything's about to get much easier. So I'm going to cut the regulator, take off the sander, and we should be able to fly into Dent. So current ETA is 10:32. Due in at 10:32. Wow, we might actually make this last station on time, which is amazing. That means we've done this particular leg ridiculously fast. I think one of the things that you really have to do is run some of these steam scenarios multiple times and really get confidence about where you can be hard on the loco and where you can't, because you're going to need it to last the long run. So I mentioned that's much like a real steam driver. They would run a route many times, and if they hadn't, they'd have people in the cab with them who would tell them all of this knowledge. And since you don't have that, you need to build that knowledge up by just doing the scenario multiple times. That's it, we're on the flat, so the speed is coming up nicely now. ETA has crept up to 10:33, but we can build some speed up now. The regulator wide open at this point, and even with the regulator wide open, we can still find a place where the thing will actually gain some boiler pressure, or not. Never mind. You don't really want to keep your cut off below about 15%, otherwise you get so little steam into the cylinders that they're not actually doing much. Although it seems that the train in this particular case seems to be doing very well. So you can see the steam chest pressure behind the regulator, the handle here, is sitting at 200. So with the boiler pressure at 200, we're actually going to be pretty much maxing out what we're able to deliver. But we're going downhill now, so we should be all right. So we've got 1.86 miles to get to Den, and we're up the hill now, so it's just a question of getting there as quickly as we can. Currently due in about 1 minute 48 late for the looks of it. Just noticed water levels down to 30%, so it'll be a good time to get the water level back up as well. Which has had the usual effect on the boiler pressure, so I think I'm going to ease up on the regulator at this point. That's it, boiler pressure's coming up nicely. Going over another one of those viaducts. There's lots of viaducts on this route, which means you get a really good view of the scenery. Hey Ishmael, are you on the A4 from King's Cross to York? It's going up in the morning and back down in the evening. I think it's sometime this month, isn't it? a speed limit coming up on approach to Den, so get slowed down for that. And indeed there was our AWS warning of such. And this, folks, is Dent. Come into a station, it's a good idea to have the water a little bit lower, because what you can do is use the water to help keep the steam chest pressure gently going down or under control. That's T, so again we're 2 minutes late, so I doubt we're going to get any points, but we're going to lose a ton. But I think that answers the point, because again, as I said, the question was asked whether or not the Duchess physics were wrong, because they were having trouble maintaining boiler pressure even going on a straight line, on a flat track. And hopefully this has shown that even going up a 1 in 100. Yeah, we got points, excellent. That was pitiful, never mind. I haven't driven this as aggressively as this scenario apparently required, but we got up the hill, which is in itself quite some feat. But, that many coaches on a 1 in 100, so hopefully there was some driving techniques in there which will help you get the best out of the locomotive. Driving steam engines is it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot harder than driving any of the other locos. Right, I'm going to get the... ooh, look at that, that's fantastic, isn't it? Never mind, we're almost at 18,000 XP, look at this. See, the last time I ran it, I got 712 points, just to prove I can do it. Anyway, I even beat one of our QA guys. Check that out. Moving on. So I'm going to set up the next scenario. Let's switch over to the other panel. And yeah, let's get that.